Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show for the episode of our Raw Reaction series and our 8 a.m. Arsenal transfer show every single day, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Arsenal transfer information and what's been going on, trying to make sense of it, and of course trying to get your thoughts as well in the chat box so that we can make sense of it collectively, because it takes more than one brain to work out what's going on at Arsenal these days. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your weekend, or as I call it, my start to my week of work. It's very different in this world, but I love it, and then that's the difference. And anyway, I hope you are having a good Saturday and are enjoying the last few hours before England become European. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I mean, it is coming home, but I'm not going to say those words. I'm not going to tempt fate too much. But you haven't got long left to wait, guys. Not long at all. And then, of course, we will find out who is going to be champions of Europe. It's only 36 hours away now, and then we have our final. The first final of my lifetime, the first final since 1966. But that's not why you're here. You are here to find out the latest Arsenal transfer information. Without further ado, let's crack on with that stuff. And we start today with Arthur Okonkwo. The goalkeeper has signed a brand new contract with Arsenal, which is fantastic news for the club. He's also been promoted to the first team squad as well. If you couldn't get any kind of better news on your day for him, it was a fantastic day for him, supposedly. And even like a week prior to this, had no idea that this was going to happen, which shows you, one, how quickly things can change, and two, why are we? Am I reading too much into this? I feel like we should have been this should have been sorted a while ago. But he didn't know just over a week ago that this was going to be happening, that he was going to be promoted to the Arsenal first team. But here we are, and here he is, and he is now an Arsenal first team player. So massive congratulations to Arthur on getting his brand new 3-year deal. Fantastic stuff. And speaking of new contracts, Taylor-Hart is expected to follow Okonkwo into having a much newer contract as well. Supposedly, some reports came out yesterday that the reason why he is signing is because the club have convinced him of a route in which he can find his way into the Arsenal first team, which is fantastic news for him as well. He's very highly rated. We may have to go and do more of an in-depth show on him and who he is and what he's about. That might be a good idea towards the new season if he gets some more minutes. But he's certainly an exciting talent, and one that hopefully we should see announced of his new deal very, very soon. Going into our main senior squad, Emile Smith-Rowe. This is looking much more confident by the day, according to James Benge. The confidence is growing incredibly much more likely that Emile Smith-Rowe will be announced in the next short-term period, that a new contract has indeed been signed up until 2026. Really good bit of news for him. There were some quotes that emerged yesterday about Emile Smith-Rowe talking about his contract and Arteta speaking about his contract. I think they were quotes that were taken from some time ago. But at the same time, it's fantastic news that Smith-Rowe looking like he is very much going to be signing a new deal at Arsenal. 5-year deal on much more increased terms, you would imagine, going through until his 25th, 26th birthday. So a massive congratulations to him upon when that will be announced, hopefully very, very soon. He's back in training at London Colney, and so therefore we may not hear about it until kind of those little... I feel like they're waiting for the new home kit to be announced before they start really putting out these announcements, because we know of certain other medicals that have been done. We're still waiting on those to be announced too, and we'll talk about those in a bit. But I feel like there's just a little bit of a PR wait going on for certain kits to be announced before anything it kind of starts kicking off, which is a very Arsenal thing. Not something I'm surprised at all. But we will wait and see. But fingers crossed, Emile Smith-Rowe does indeed sign this new contract. Going then to Hector Bellerin, a player whose contract does not look like it will be continuing with Arsenal into the long term, because he very much looks like he is going to be moving away from the club, and Inter Milan look to be the club that are the most likely to take him on. Now, Inter Milan are looking for a deal in the form of a loan with an option to buy. Arsenal want a straight permanent transfer of around 20 million euros. Now, I don't think they're going to get that. I think we're probably going to see we're going to find a middle ground between Arsenal and Inter Milan. It's probably going to be in the form of an option, or rather an obligation with a loan rather than an option, or it will be a increased option or something to the matter of fact where it'll be an increased loan fee with an option. It's not going to work out in Arsenal's favour. I just don't see this deal happening the way that Arsenal really want it to, even with interest from the likes of Villarreal, Sevilla, and Atletico Madrid. Inter Milan seemingly are the main pick at this time, but it's not going to be a financially kind of beneficial deal for Arsenal, it don't seem, and that's a real shame. I think there's a lot of people showing the player disrespect, actually, for the amount of money that they're saying that he's worth. If you think about the fact he was playing in the Spanish national side not only in the last 12 months, but of course has been at the club for a long time, produced for the Hale End Academy. Yes, he suffered a big injury and he gets a lot of stick, but he was for a long time really kind of touted as one of the best right backs in the Premier League for a period. So I do wish people would pay him a little bit more respect than I see some people doing so. 20 million euros, I think, is an absolutely exceptional deal for anyone that managed to get him in. If you're looking at 17-ish million pounds for a Premier League international right back, for me, it's a very decent deal. So we move forwards and we move forwards to our next story and hope that Bellerin is going to be moving on with a decent amount of money coming into the club as much as possible. This is some good news for Arsenal. Both Nuno Tavares and Lokonga's medicals are and have been completed, which is great. They weren't done. They weren't done in the UK. Supposedly they were done prior to any move. Tavares, we know, is now in London and is, of course, doing that quarantine period. They're hoping to get that quarantine period finished to a point in which he can join up with the squad for the Scottish tour. Sambi Lokonga is very unlikely to join up with the squad for the Scottish tour, but should be available to go to Florida for the pre-season games against Everton and Inter Milan and Millonarios. So plenty of positive news coming out from those two. It's a good kind of move for Arsenal to get those depth options sorted for next season. So we've got the cover, we've got the right positions, we've got the right areas of the game that we need to get sorted. And now we can focus mainly on getting the key upgrades on the squad that we need to. Let's have a look at our next story, which revolves around Houssem Aouar. Again, this is quite an entertaining story. This hasn't really progressed beyond the interest that we've heard over the last few days, but you may have seen some funny stories online yesterday where a lot of people thought that his agent was in London. Arsenal fans did what they do best and absolutely went to town spamming on this poor guy's Instagram page, where the fact that Aouar actually had to come out and tell people to stop, which is quite incredible. You never know what our Arsenal fan base are capable of, but it's means of unbelievable hilarity is what it is. So a fair play to them. If we could do this with every signing, I mean, get on Locatelli, guys. We need to convince this guy that he's wanted at Arsenal. Hilarious stuff. But in regards to the actual transfer, nothing's kind of progressed. There were rumours that Spurs have now entered the race, according to yesterday's reports. Whether or not that's true, again, it's down to the legitimacy of those reports. But that's the rumour that came forward. I said yesterday that I'd be surprised if Arsenal ended up getting Aouar. I think Arsenal will move for other players, but because of his price tag, he is seemingly quite an attractive kind of profile for clubs to be looking at. And for me, that is a real big kind of it's not a red flag necessarily around his price. I've got red flags around other areas, and I'm not going to go into depth because I've talked about Aouar and the concerns I have to absolute death. But if he ends up at Arsenal, 100% will back this guy to support, to turn things around in my mind as much as feasibly possible. Going on to our penultimate story and Nuno Tavares, not Nuno Tavares, that's the other Portuguese guy. Ruben Neves, there we go, that's the right one. Ruben Neves, of course, linked to Arsenal last couple of days, mainly with a 5-year contract being offered, according to Nicolo Schura, and saying that obviously Arsenal may move for him as kind of their Granit Xhaka replacement. In regards to an actual bid being placed, again, nothing official is yet kind of broken around Arsenal moving for an official bid on Ruben Neves. It's purely around these kind of personal terms that we're talking right now. I personally hope that this deal is certainly one that Arsenal can move forward with and try and get done, because I think he improves in the right areas. I still think that obviously his passing isn't as good as Granit Xhaka in terms of kind of how accurate it is and how frequent it is, but in terms of his directness of passing and the way that he moves the ball and progresses progresses the ball for me, I prefer the way that he plays, the way that he gets out of situations a lot better using his technical ability in compared to someone like Granit Xhaka, who often tries to win a foul in his own half. Does it really, really well and relieves pressure, but I want to see a player breaking out of situations, taking opposition players out of the game and moving the play forward a lot quicker, which I do believe Ruben Neves to be that player from watching plenty of him now. So that's certainly one that I'm interested in seeing Arsenal move forward with. And in the next few days or so, maybe we will hear news of a possible bid. But I do imagine it will take the sale of Granit Xhaka to happen first before we move really hard on the Ruben Neves deal. Moving on to our final story and Ben White. Again, ever increasing certainty that Arsenal will wrap up this deal. You may have seen the interview with Fabrizio Romano yesterday, basically saying that all of the interest from other clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, etc., isn't really substantial enough because Arsenal are so close to getting this deal done, agreeing a deal with Brighton. The players' demands are already sorted, personal terms are already agreed. It is now just a case of that deal with Brighton. There are a lot of premature reports that came out about Arsenal agreeing a deal, mainly from fake ITKs, but it looks to me like this deal. And as I speak, as my phone alerts me to a tweet from the AFC Bell saying Arsenal have completed the assignment of James Ellis, a scout from Fulham, to become a first-team scout specialised in the English local market. James will be responsible for identifying the most suitable players for the club's needs in the local market and will send his reports periodically to the sporting director. Who's the sporting director? We have a head of football operations, which is Richard Garlick, and a technical director, which is Edu, but I don't think we have a sporting director, so that's an interesting one. But yeah, so I imagine that's good news, getting a scout in if that turns out to be true. So that's positive. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? We hear about Edu saying that he wants to move to a more data-driven approach, and here we are looking at bringing in more scouts. Fulham, of course, I'm trying to think about how Fulham have changed the way that they've brought in players. I mean, let's have a look at Fulham's all transfers on Transfermarkt and see if how successful their scouting has been over the last 5 years. Is probably a good way to check this. Let's share this screen with you guys so you can see it as well, and we can get it up on the screen. Share screen so you guys can all see this. But this, if you are just joining us, the AFC Bell tells us that Arsenal have indeed sorted out a new scout to come in. So we're just taking a quick look at Fulham's transfer history. Anthony Knockout, Harrison Reed, Terence Congolo, nothing coming really from those guys. Kenny Tete from Lyon, again, nothing that great coming out from that. Ademola Lookman on a loan deal. Tosin Adarabioyo is a good signing from Man City, and certainly Hayes increased his value. Joachim Andersen was a good signing on loan. Going down a little bit more. Did Josh Madra join on loan? It was a loan deal from Bordeaux. Cavallero, Reed, Michael Hector, Cavallero, Knockout, Anoma. Again, none of these are really standing out to me as amazing bits of scouting. And Gisa, that's a pretty good deal. £22 million he cost. That's crazy. Alfie Mawson was rated quite highly initially, but I've really heard nothing of him since he moved there. Mitrovic, of course, we know plenty about. Jean-Michael Seri came in, didn't really do anything. We don't know, of course, if he was even responsible for any of these guys. This is purely speculation at this stage. But Arsenal get a scout in. So fantastic news. Fantastic news. Let's see what you guys are saying. Then we move on to the final part of the show, which is, of course, getting your thoughts and feelings in the chat box and getting your questions answered as best as feasibly possible. Joe 90 Jacob says, I hope they don't forget to sign a new striker. Well, at the moment, I can't see us ever going for a striker this window. Right now, we've got Lacazette, we've got Aubameyang, we've got Balogun coming through. We look like we're not moving on anyone from that striking department just yet. So don't get your hopes up about a striker. Let's scroll up and get some of the comments from a little bit earlier on. Jesus, Czech Perk is really not liking Bellerin. We get it, mate. I think maybe we've got an issue. Joel says Bellerin should be left at Arsenal after he is still a good player and has 2 years left to run on his current Arsenal deal. To be honest, I'm in favour of Arsenal moving on from here if we can get a good fee. I want to get a good fee in and try and upgrade it. It's a position that I target as an area that we should be looking to try and upgrading. But I think we can get a decent fee for Bellerin, and we should certainly be able to in that sense. I just think we need to move in a different direction with that position. Ritian says, Bellerin made his first team debut during my first Arsenal live game at Westfalenstadion in 2014. We lost 2-0 against Dortmund. That game will always be special to me. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed your first game, because Arsenal certainly didn't. Max says, I think that Kolasinac is going to go to Lazio. That was a previous link, along with Trabzonspor and Fenerbahce, both linked with him. Owen says, do you think with Smith-Rowe's new contract, he'll get a new squad number, 8, 10 or 11? I'd be very surprised if he didn't. I think he'll move to the number 8 squad number. We'll see. He can play in wide position. Number 10 could play as maybe a number 8 in a 4-3-3. We'd have to wait and see. Vignesh, I've already done it, mate. Already covered it, son. Way ahead of the game, fella. Sahil says, Tom, are the reports about Onana reliable? I've seen absolutely no reports regarding Onana. Nothing. Nothing from any kind of legit sources. Anyway, let me just type in Arsenal and Onana and let's see if anything legit has come up. Eduardo Hagen says, Arsenal charging for Onana. Ajax willing to accept 5 million and 3.5. The file is far from over. Lyon have done more. I've heard absolutely nothing about Onana from any kind of legit sources. Lyon look like they're going for Onana, which is a good move for them. So fair play to Lyon, but heard nothing from an Arsenal perspective. So no, I imagine it's just people panicking, seeing another club linked to the player, and obviously that brings back up the Arsenal kind of story. So I wouldn't really, I wouldn't buy into it too much. As it says, hi Tom, have you watched this kid Yusuf Demir? Barcelona signed him on loan from Rapid Wien, and he is super quality. How do we never spot such gems? Yusuf Demir, obviously playing at Rapid Vienna in Austria. I wrote an entire article on him. He is a very exciting young player. Was shocked that he wasn't picked for the Euros squad with Austria this summer. Really interesting player. He was linked with Manchester United previously as well. He's probably the most exciting Austrian player that they've got. So it's one of the next ones to come through. Surprisingly, not at Salzburg, but at Rapid Vienna. So yeah, he's very good. Great set piece taker. Really does like a good free kick. He came off? I think he did play against Arsenal in the Europa League. I think that he played. I don't know if he came off the bench, but he certainly did feature in one of the games. Because we talked to Wolfgang Gasparic, who is our Austrian correspondent working for Football Manager, as the head German and Austrian researcher, and he loves Yusuf Demir. So for Barcelona, that's a great bit of business for them, and a kind of a move in the right direction for the way that they need to start buying players. Philip says, we should make more money. We should make more Partey-like deals. Players with buyout clauses that are at a good price. Pellegrini 25.8, Aaron Barry at 21.5, Gilles at 30, Neuhaus 34, and Nkunku 34, Adarabio 10. Obviously, buyout clauses are very difficult to find out the genuine total. It's very rare that these release clauses get put into the public domain in their genuine, in a genuine sense of how much they specifically are. Sometimes parts get leaked, and that means that the release clause is often misquoted in plenty of media outlets. So whilst I understand what you're saying is that some of these release clauses look and seem quite low, in fact, they can be very different to what is reported. So just be wary of that when you are reading through things about possible release clauses. Christian says, Tom, with no European football, fans back in stadiums, and all or nothing amazing series, are we primed for a breakout season? I hope you're right, Christian. I hope that we are, but there's no guarantees. Absolutely none whatsoever. Samir says, we are not getting Maddison for sure. Who do you think is a realistic target attacking midfield? A realistic target. We've been barely linked to any of late. We're obviously linked to Erdegaard. Wanted to get that done. That's not happening. We were linked to Buendia. Didn't get him. Went to Aston Villa. I think the realistic targets are the likes of Marcel Sabitzer, because it's a very decent price, 27 years of age. I think it's a good profile to go for. You've got players like Kamada, Frankfurt, that is another realistic player, around 30 million euros. It would cost you to get him in. There are players out there. People would say Aouar, but he's definitely more of an 8 than a number 10. So there's options, but I don't think we're going to see... I doubt we'll see an attacking midfielder really linked beyond Maddison, and that's just interest right now until we kind of sort out this central midfield position that seems to be the main priority focus, along with the the Ben White situation. So he also said, Tom, thoughts on Mariba? Apparently he wants to leave Barcelona. Exciting young kid at Barcelona. I mean, he's only 18. And I don't think that you'd necessarily see him move to Arsenal, because I don't think you'd see a route into the first team. My bet would be he stays in Spain, but we'll wait and see. Assassin General says, Tom, why can't we get both White and Maddison? Why is it one or the other? I don't understand the club chains of thought. I mean, I don't know where you've heard about it being one or the other. Arsenal will move for a player if they want to move for them, if they've got the money for them. So it's not a case of going for one and not the other. They want Ben White. Arteta really wants Ben White. I can see why. He's a fantastic young player with loads of potential, and he's already good now. So I just think that they aren't willing to spend what Leicester are quoting Arsenal for, which is probably around the £70 million mark. So that's the thing. Georgie, who is a Leicester City fan, says Maddison would be well up for some all or nothing. That could be the pull to get him. Showing his loving of being in the spotlight, is that, Georgie? Liking his TV presence, does he? Igbo says, why in God's name did we sign Cedric? Your guess, Igbo, is as good as mine beyond just simply squad depth. Jabril says, are we sure Arteta is going to switch to a 4-3-3 like his mentor, aiming for 8s in the transfer market? I mean, we're not sure, no. I saw someone tweet yesterday that they had heard that Arteta is switching to a 4-3-3. I mean, how you ever hear that information beyond just seeing some drills in training, which is, I mean, without even a full squad available, is nothing. They're going to use different formations. They're going to train with different formations. No one saying that you've heard that we're going to switch formation is such a weird ITK kind of link. You may have seen the tweet yesterday. I did reply to it. If we did, and it was also saying that Thomas Partey would be switched to a number 6 position, which is just ridiculous, because it just completely wastes his talent as a box-to-box midfielder, where he played so well at Atletico Madrid. So I just really would be frustrated to see Partey waste the number 6 role. So it was suggested to me that he should be played like Jorginho is used, which is, I can't really get the mindset about how you see Jorginho, you see Thomas Partey, and you think, yeah, those two are two kind of parallels. I can't see that at all. Partey is so much more mobile, loves to progress the ball through dribbling, not through individual passes, kind of from a metronome position at a number 6 like Jorginho does. They're completely different players. So I just really wouldn't see Partey playing in the number 6 position. It being, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I'd say he probably did the job pretty well. But the point is that you'd waste so much about Thomas Partey's transitional progression of the ball, with the ball at his feet, with the way that he can charge forwards and his passing into the final third. Why waste all of that? Makes absolutely no sense at all. Gooner Studio says, Tom, wouldn't it be better to sign Aouar for around 20 million and spending big on other positions rather than signing a Maddison, spending less in other positions? I mean, Aouar's not a 10. I mean, Aouar and Maddison are not, they're not mutually exclusive. You don't sign one and mean that you can't get the other. You could effectively sign both and play both, because Aouar's an 8 and Maddison's a 10. So it's not really, it's not a case of if you buy one, it's cheaper than the other, because I think you buy Aouar and you could still go out and buy an attacking midfielder. If you buy Maddison, you're really going to limit what else you can do in other areas of the pitch. Aouar is, like, nearly a quarter of the price of Maddison. So it would make more sense financially to buy that and then spend, say, your 30 million euros on a Kamada or a 20 million euros on a Sabitzer, something like that. Michael says, Michelle, sorry. Is it Michael or Michelle? I'm hoping I pronounced that right. I'm really sorry. Says, is there any chance that Lucas Torreira will be convinced by Arteta to stay at Arsenal? Almost zero. Michael, I'm really sorry. There's absolutely pretty much zero chance that Torreira is going to be here next season. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I wouldn't put any money on him staying whatsoever. Mr. Harrison Carnaby says, hey, Tom, what is it about Aouar's game that would prevent him playing as a 10? It's nothing about his game that would prevent him playing as a 10. He's just more naturally a number 8. If you play him as a 10, you lose what he does in the number 8 position in the defensive side of things. Whilst he's not an amazing tackler, he can win the ball back, he can track back, he can intercept passes, he can work in a deeper position. So if you put him at 10, he's not going to do those things. And I think he works best kind of skewed to the left-hand side. So I think that's his best role. I think that pretty much you would watch him at Lyon and think he's not an out-and-out number 10 and doesn't really play as an out-and-out number 10 either. So it's nothing to stop him playing from 10. It's just a case of, I think you would limit some of the other areas of his game that are good in his game when he's playing in a consistent manner. Yeah, don't stress, says Alistair. He's not coming. I'd be very shocked to see Aouar turn up at Arsenal this summer. I really would. Leon says, thoughts on Matheus Pereira, cheap and hungry. Yeah, this is one of the more kind of smarter signings I think Arsenal would go out and make if they were to go and sign Matheus Pereira. Premier League ready, proven goal scorer, got that mentality, good age. Really would, I think, be a bit of a savvy bit of business by Arsenal this summer. And I think he was on an upward trajectory the last 2 seasons with West Brom. And I think he would continue that trend at a more high-profile place at Arsenal were he to move to the club. So I would be very open to seeing Matheus Pereira move to Arsenal. Philip says, could you make a video on players that should go on loan and what teams you think they should go to? I know that you're crazy busy. Yes, if there's ever a gap, which there does appear to be sometimes, I will try and make one about kind of loan players. But I have to think about also, like, is that an interesting enough video? Would people be up for that? Let me know in the comment section. And Mandeep says, what are your thoughts on Lucas Paqueta? I feel he's way better fit for us than Aouar. I agree with you. He was brought into Lyon to basically be there in case Aouar left. They both stayed, and Paqueta absolutely outshone Aouar last season. Was brilliant and is doing really well for the Brazilian national side as well. So if Arsenal were able to go and get him, I'd be all up for Arsenal going and get Paqueta, but I think Lyon would be wanting a lot of money for him. Leo says, thoughts on Todd Cantwell? I'm not sold by Todd Cantwell. I think that I don't know what it is. I just think there's a bit of a block to me in thinking that his potential is aligned with the likes of Aarons and Buendia. I think he was on a lower level to that. And whilst he had a decent season in the Premier League 2 seasons ago, I'm just not convinced by Cantwell. I'm not sure it's the type of player that I would go for. Emmanuel, who is one of our brand new members. Thank you, Emmanuel, by the way. I did notice that earlier when I was going through the news. Thank you all so much for signing up. Emmanuel says, it's coming home, Tom. Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Kevin says, question, do you think we should try and nab Pedro? Do you mean Pedri? I think you mean Pedri with Barca's financial difficulties. I mean, I'd absolutely no chance of getting him. Even with their difficulties, he's a £100 million plus player. He's not going to be going anywhere. The fact they signed him for like £6 million from Las Palmas is one of the best deals in Europe over the last 10 years. From the looks of things, it is that good of a transfer, that smart of a bit of business by Barca, which is very strange for Barca because they've not done things like that of late, but we'll wait and see. Joachim says, first choice goalkeeper is urgent. Leno, not Arteta kind of goalkeeper, same as Czech with Emery. Not bad, just wrong. Martinez gave us so much in terms of build-up. Think we would have been in the same mix. We've been in the mix for the Champions League with him. That's a big, big shout, and maybe a solid one as well. Leno doesn't seem to be the right distributor of the ball for Mikel Arteta. And it has made us struggle at times under Arteta, have a goalkeeper that isn't necessarily the best at his distribution. I don't think that we will sign a starting goalkeeper. I certainly think that Arsenal will keep Leno and move forward with him and try and improve his distribution rather than signing a keeper instead. Anyway, I think we are going to finish the show off there. Thank you all so much, guys, for tuning in today. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe if you are new with those notifications turned on. There should be another show for you a little bit later on today. Look forward to bringing you that. So make sure you've got the notifications on so you never miss those shows when they do drop live. And if you'd like to help the channel and support us, you can become a member, and that will give you access to our Discord server as well if you become an expert member or a TGT ambassador. I'll see you a little bit later on today. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you as always. And as always, up the Arsenal.